In this video, we're going to be making some cutting boards. I have some rough sawn wood here, some walnut, zebra wood, hard maple, wenge, and white oak, all hardwoods. I have an old cutting board here with a big crack down the center, a very shallow juice groove, and the board itself is very thin. So I'm going to show you my milling process to get these boards to the right thickness, dimensions, and everything in between. So if you want to show some support, hit the like button, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the video. So here's a pretty good trick. We're gonna have to get a finished surface on one side of the board first. So this board right here on this zebra wood has a rock in it. It's about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So these two corners here are touching, these two corners here are rocking. I'm gonna take some shims. I'm gonna put about 1/8 of an inch under here and about 1/8 of an inch under here. Maybe not even, maybe that was exaggerated. But that is going to stop the rocking. And I have this on a totally flat workbench on a piece of plywood. So this is gonna go through the joiner, which you're gonna see, and we're gonna plane the top of this board smooth. And I put these two boards together to prevent snipe. I'm also going to put a block here at the end and a block in the front so there's no snipe on each end. That's good. And then we're gonna hot glue this so the boards stay in place. So both sides of the boards were sent through the planer. So now they're smooth on the tops and the bottoms. They're totally flat. They are all the same thickness because I ran all the boards through the planer at the same time. So now we're gonna put a straight edge on the edge of the board. So let's go. All right, so what I have here, I made this micro, with these micro clamps. I made this jig here, it's a dovetail. And these slide in and out of these grooves here. So I'll take this piece of zebra wood, this is 12 inches, from this edge here to this edge here. So I will set this board here about 1/8 of an inch past the blade's width on each side here. I'll slide these over and clamp these down. Now I'll move this. I'll set this at 12 inches and we'll send it through. have here is a straight edge that we can now flip around and run it right alongside of the fence and get another straight edge here. Now that we have all these boards ripped down to various thicknesses, we have them from 1/8 of an inch to 3.5, 2 inch, 1.25 inch. Now we get to play around with them and see what kind of boards we're gonna design. My helper came down here and she is starting to design her own custom cutting board. I do have a few cutting boards that I put together. They're not set in stone yet, but they're looking pretty good. So we're gonna see what she comes up with when she's done. Oh, you're putting that there? Oh, okay. So now that you've gotten the bird's eye view of the different patterns that my daughter Jessie and I came up with last night, it's time for the glue up. So now that I've scraped off all of the glue, there's still some residual glue left. What we're gonna do is send them through the planer and get a totally flat, smooth surface and remove all the glue and any irregularities in the top of the cutting board. So let's go. As you just saw, we sent all the boards through the planer. Any snipe that occurs on the ends, we're gonna cut that off to our dimensions. And now we're gonna use the table saw sled and we're gonna cut it to our dimensions. I want to show you guys this a cutoff, and I want to show you the power of the tight bond glue. This is about 1/16 of an inch of the maple on each side with the zebra wood. It's about a 1/16 of an inch there, holding up this large chunk of white oak. It's pretty strong. It's only that glue joint right there. All right, so come on in closer and take a look at what I caught before I ran all of them through the table saw. Could have been a disaster. Thank God I caught it. All right, so with my woodpecker's 2-foot rule, it has a center scale on it. It has a center scale and a left to right scale. So this side is the center scale, and it starts with a 0 in the middle, and every increment is the same, working its way out. So I want to make sure that these boards are going to be ripped even on each side, because when you cut the juice groove in here, you'll tell if it encroaches into a different piece of wood, but on this side and not on this side. So what I did was I found the center of this board here, and I want all of the boards to be about 12.5 inches. So I'm gonna mark a 0 right there, and I'm gonna go out 6 1/4 here, which tells me I've got to take about a 1/16 of an inch off here, and then a 1/16 of an inch off here. So what I'll do is I'll have to adjust the table saw to each one to make sure that my cuts are going to be even. I'll cut it on one side the first time, and then I'll be able to flip the board around and run it up against the fence, all to 12.5 inches. All right, we're getting there. So I have a nice 90-degree corner here. It's square. We're gonna go ahead and put all these on the table saw sled, butt them up against the stop, and cut them down all at the same dimension. Now we start the daunting task of sanding. I'm gonna start with a 80 grit, 120, 150, and finish it up with 220. But 220 will be last. I want to thank my friends at Festool for allowing me to buy this ETS EC150 sander at full price. I appreciate that. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to show you briefly on how I got to the point where I am at right now. Come on in. All right, so what I did, I have these sacrificial boards right here that are screwed down to this piece of plywood, which is clamped down to my outfeed table. I CA glued these little strips to the plywood so that it'll pass by. When I run the router over it, it'll just pass by right over them. So I took the Woodpecker's Polini pocket rule, and I measured the distance from my juice groove bit. Router is unplugged, and I measured that distance right there, which gave me 2 3/8. So I took that measurement over to the actual cutting board, and I figured out where the line was. I used the saddle tee from Woodpecker's, which I paid full price for, but they were so kind to send it to me, which it's a great tool, by the way. I'm not sponsored by any of this, but you put your mechanical pencil in here, you slide it right down, whatever measurement you want, you slide it right down, and that's how you get your precise measurements. So my juice groove bit is 1 inch wide, so it's 2 3/8 all the way around from this this edge guide right here. And this router, which you'll see in a minute, is going to ride right up against it, like, wow, like this. You see how that just passes over it? So I could keep the plate of the router, which is the exact distance to my lines, and I don't have to worry about, I can go all around it like this. So hopefully it's gonna work. We're gonna find out. Now, the depth of the groove, well, I did a practice piece here, and the depth of the juice groove is 5/16 of an inch thick by 1 inch wide. I'm gonna keep it 1/2 of an inch in from the cutting board, and then it's 1 inch wide. So on the ends, it's gonna be 1 1/8 in, so that when you hold it, your thumbs have a place to go, but the sides, 1/2 inch. Let's do this. All right, so now that we're all done with the juice groove, it's time to sand up the edges. So I'm gonna take you through how I do this. All right, so first we take the Lee Nielsen and we run it along the edge. Just breaking the edge. Today at the router table, we're going to be putting in finger grooves here on the end of the boards to make it easier to pick up from the countertop or table. So I have my jig set up here, and I'm going to bring you in closer to show you how we're going to do it. So this is the same bit as the juice groove. I have my 2 stop blocks set up right here. On this woodpecker's rule, I have a center 0 right here, and the imperial measurements go out this way and out to the left. So it's the same on each side, which made it easy for me to bump this up against my 1 stop here, and that says 2 3/4 of an inch to the edge of the bit. And I push it over this way, and it's 2 3/4 to the side of this bit. So it's totally even on both sides. Very, very nice tool to use for this setup. I have carpet tape right here that I'm gonna pull off right here, and we are going to put another, we're gonna stick a block to these once I get this off. All right, we're gonna take this block right here, stick that up against it, and then we're gonna take this block, stick it up against it. Now, how you could see this, hopefully you could see this, this is going to be the groove. So we're not going to go the full depth in one pass. When this goes on here, this is going to take approximately half of the cut. So when I put it in here like this, I can move it to the left and the right. And that'll stop, and that'll make the finger pull exactly where I need it to be. When we do the final cut for the final depth, I will remove these and go right up against my fence here for the final cut. All the boards are laid out. We've got some water in a spray bottle. We're gonna spray the boards to raise the grain. We're gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna finish the boards with 220. Can't see that good? Come on in for a closer look. Exciting phase of the project here. I just received a branding iron that's really hot right now. And I'd like to know, if you were to buy a cutting board, would you want the logo on the front part or on the back part of the board? Let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna bring you in closer now and show you what this branding iron does. Come on in. All right, so my daughter just finished her cutting board. We're gonna go through a two-step process. One is gonna be with the food safe mineral oil, and then the other one is gonna be with the Odie's oil. So it's a two-step, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna finish all of these boards with the mineral oil. Here we go. So now that the mineral oil has fully dried, we're going to be applying a second finish to these boards, and I like to use Odie's oil. It's a great second finish for the boards. You buff it in. I buff it in with a white Scotch pad, and then you buff it right off, and it really seals and protects this wood. Come on in for a closer look. Well, if you guys made it through the entire video with me, here are the finished cutting boards. I hope you enjoyed the video, got some tips, tricks, knowledge. Every tool and product that I've used is located in the description below. I paid for everything myself. I am not sponsored by anybody. But if you do decide to click the link to my Amazon store, the little bit of incentive just goes back into the shop and helps me create more videos to educate all of you or whoever's watching. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one.